This is what he said to the actor. I said, oh, 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 oh. So now we got in this big argument for 20 minutes. I called him every night. He was saying he didn't know, and I got lightheaded.
Robert Duvall was never the kind of Hollywood legend who pretended to like everyone just to keep the peace. While most actors smile in interviews and avoid drama, Duvall did the complete opposite. Over the years, he quietly built a reputation for calling out actors he truly could not stand. And some of the names on this list will seriously shock you. These were not small disagreements either, but real tensions that people in Hollywood still talk about today. Stay with me till the end, because the last one is the most unexpected. Number 6. Al Pacino. The relationship between Robert Duvall and Al Pacino centers on one of Hollywood's most talked-about salary disputes. Duvall maintained a clear position on compensation fairness throughout his career, and his stance on The Godfather, 3 negotiations revealed his uncompromising nature. Speaking to CBS in 2004, he stated his expectations bluntly. "I said I would work easily if they paid Pacino twice what they paid me, that's fine, but not 3 or 4 times, which is what they did." This statement demonstrates Duvall's understanding of Hollywood's pecking order. He never demanded equal billing or compensation with Pacino, the franchise's star. The ratio simply crossed a line he wouldn't accept. For a man who built his career on playing characters defined by measured judgment, walking away from a major film over principle stayed true to form. Pacino, for his part, offered a different perspective on their professional relationship. Following Duvall's death in February 2025, Pacino described working with him as an honor and called Duvall a born actor whose phenomenal gift will always be remembered. The tribute carried genuine respect, though it came decades after the salary dispute that kept them apart on screen. Their collaboration on the Godfather films defined both careers. Duvall earned his first of 7 Oscar nominations for his supporting performance as Tom Hagen in the 1972 original. Pacino portrayed Michael Corleone, the role that would become synonymous with his name. Both actors reunited for The Godfather Part II in 1974, a film widely considered superior to its predecessor. The dynamics shifted when The Godfather Part III entered development. Pacino, Diane Keaton, and Talia Shire all signed on to reprise their roles. The salary structure, however, created an insurmountable obstacle for Duvall's participation. According to 1990 reports, Pacino stood to earn $5 million, while Keaton would receive $1.5 million. Duvall's offer fell significantly below these figures, creating the disparity he found unacceptable. Director Francis Ford Coppola visited Duvall's farm in Virginia to personally request his involvement. Duvall served him Maryland crab cakes made from his mother's recipe. The gesture didn't smooth negotiations. As Duvall noted in 1990, "Then he called me, see, a couple of days later. I got the impression he was more interested in the recipe for the crab cakes than getting me to play the role." The core issue transcended personal animosity. Duvall recognized his character's significance to the Godfather narrative and expected compensation reflecting that importance. He didn't seek equal status with Pacino, but refused to accept what he viewed as an insulting differential. "There are 2 or 3 other actors in that film being paid more than I was offered. That just isn't right," he explained in 1990. Coppola faced financial constraints during this period, which complicated negotiations. The director needed to balance his budget against the cast's salary expectations. When Duvall refused the offer, Coppola rewrote the screenplay entirely. Tom Hagen died before the story begins in the revised version. George Hamilton stepped in as B.J. Harrison, a new character created to fill the void Hagen left behind. Rumors persisted about what the film might have explored, had Duvall returned. Some accounts suggested a major storyline examining a rift between Tom and Michael, a power struggle that would have extended the growing tension between the two characters established in earlier films. This narrative thread died with Duvall's departure. Coppola later acknowledged the loss. In his commentary track for The Godfather Part, the third, he admitted the film feels incomplete without Duvall's participation. The admission validated Duvall's assessment of his character's value to the story. Duvall never expressed regret about his decision. When Reuters asked him in 2010, 20 years after the third Godfather film's release, whether he had second thoughts, his response remained consistent. No, because it wasn't as good as the other two. The film received 7 Academy Award nominations despite his absence, but critical and audience reception fell short of its predecessors. His career continued without interruption. The Godfather 3 decision became a footnote rather than a defining moment. He maintained his reputation as an actor who valued fair treatment over franchise loyalty. Pacino's trajectory remained unaffected by the dispute. He continued as one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. The salary structure that drove Duvall away reflected Pacino's market value at the time. Whether he could have negotiated differently to include his former co-star remains speculation. Their professional paths rarely crossed after the Godfather films. The salary dispute created distance, though not the public feuding that characterizes true Hollywood rivalries. Both actors spoke of each other with professional respect when pressed, even as the compensation gap remained an unresolved tension between them. Robert Duvall built a career working with some of the biggest actors ever. Yet not every partnership ended with respect. In fact, a few of them reportedly left him completely frustrated behind the scenes. What really happened on those sets? Who pushed him to the point where he never wanted to work with them again? Stay with me, because the names only get more surprising as we count down, and the number one story is the one almost nobody saw coming. Number 5. Jon Voight. Claims about animosity between Robert Duvall and Jon Voight lack concrete evidence in the public record. The two actors crossed paths professionally in 2008's 4 Christmases, where they portrayed the divorced parents of Reese Witherspoon's character. On set, Witherspoon expressed admiration for Duvall, describing him as such a great Southern guy. The chemistry between cast members appeared professional and cordial during production. Voight attended the Godfather 50th anniversary premiere at the Paramount Theater, where he participated in red carpet interviews. His presence at this milestone celebration demonstrated respect for the film that launched multiple careers, including Duvall's breakthrough performance as Tom Hagen. The event brought together actors from different eras of cinema, though no documented exchanges between Duvall and Voight surfaced from that evening. Film critics and audiences recognized Voight's distinctive approach to character work. One assessment noted, "He doesn't just play the character, he becomes the character." This method acting dedication paralleled Duvall's own commitment to immersive performances, suggesting similar artistic philosophies rather than opposing viewpoints. The concept of rivalry between these actors remains largely speculative. Both men built reputations in the 1970s, though their career trajectories followed different paths. Voight achieved early recognition with Midnight Cowboy, Deliverance, and Coming Home. His performance in the latter earned particular praise for its sensitivity and command, serving as spokesperson for cynicism about the Vietnam War and portraying the bitterness men felt after being made fools of and led to the slaughter. Duvall, by comparison, established himself through the Godfather franchise and later roles that showcased his range. The two actors operated in overlapping circles without directly competing for identical roles. Their physical types, screen presence, and typical casting differed enough to place them in separate lanes within Hollywood's ecosystem. Four Christmases marked their most significant collaboration. The film featured multiple Academy Award winners, including Duvall, Mary Steenburgen, Sissy Spacek, and Voight. In the narrative, Duvall played Brad's father, who reverted to trailer trash type with cage-fighting brothers. Voight portrayed Kate's father, described as having remained fairly sane and being the only man I have seen prey on screen for years, and play it as neither kooky nor spooky. The factual record contains no documented incidents of conflict, public disagreements, or professional disputes between Duvall and Voight. Their careers ran parallel, rather than intersecting frequently enough to generate friction. Unlike Duvall's well-documented salary dispute with Al Pacino over The Godfather Part 3, no comparable financial or creative disagreements with Voight entered the historical record. Voight's career experienced fluctuations that some observers characterized harshly. After disappearing from major roles in the 1980s, he made a notable effort in Runaway Train before staging what observers called an acting comeback in 1995 with Heat. He transitioned into character actor territory, appearing in Mission Impossible, The Rainmaker, Anaconda, Pearl Harbor, and National Treasure. Critics of Voight's later work used phrases like washed up, though others defended his sustained career. One response noted, "You can't use washed up for somebody who has had a 50-year career." The debate about Voight's career longevity and quality never involved Duvall's commentary or criticism. Their scenes together in Four Christmases required professional coordination, but generated no reports of tension or difficulty. The film brought together strong personalities, yet production proceeded without publicized conflicts among its veteran cast members. The absence of conflict between Duvall and Voight meant their professional relationship, such as it existed, produced no measurable impact on either career. Both actors continued working steadily in their respective niches. Voight maintained activity into recent years, securing a role in Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis. Duvall's selective approach to projects remained consistent, whether working with Voight or any other performer. He prioritized roles that interested him and compensation he deemed fair. His principles stayed intact across all professional relationships. The Four Christmases experience represented one job among hundreds spanning his 7-decade career. Voight's reputation as a really great actor, especially in the 70s, stood independently of any association with Duvall. His performances in classics established a legacy separate from collaborative projects. The actors maintained professional courtesy in shared spaces without developing the deep enmity that characterizes authentic Hollywood feuds. Their careers demonstrated that two strong performers can exist in the same industry, occasionally work together, and maintain professional distance without generating the dramatic conflicts that tabloids prefer. The mundane reality of most professional relationships rarely makes headlines, yet it represents the standard experience for actors navigating long careers in film. Hollywood friendships can look perfect on camera, but the truth behind the scenes is often very different. Robert Duvall shared the screen with dozens of legendary actors, yet there were a few who tested his patience more than anyone expected. Some disagreements were quiet, others were intense, and a couple reportedly changed relationships forever. Which co-stars made working together nearly impossible? And what exactly happened that made Duvall lose respect for them? Keep watching all the way to the end, because the final story reveals a clash so unexpected it still surprises film fans today. Number 4. Gene Hackman. Their paths crossed in 1955 at New York's neighborhood playhouse School of the Theater, where two struggling actors forged a bond that would last 7 decades. Duvall watched Hackman closely during those formative years, observing qualities that fascinated and troubled him in equal measure. Speaking about his longtime friend, Duvall offered an assessment that cut through Hollywood pleasantries. "I always remember Gene as a tormented guy, always into his own space, his own thing." The observation carried weight because Duvall saw Hackman in circumstances few others witnessed. They shared cramped apartments in Manhattan, splitting rent that rarely exceeded $20 a month. Duvall attended parties at Hackman's place where Faye, Hackman's Italian wife, cooked massive pots of spaghetti for crowds of unemployed actors. One memorable evening, everyone lay down on the floor after dinner, fell asleep, and woke up for dessert. Reflecting on that period, Duvall noted, "Yeah, those were good years, not knowing what the future was about. All these friends, very important. Dreaming. That was fun." Yet beneath the camaraderie, Duvall recognized darkness in Hackman that others missed or chose to ignore. Hackman's volcanic temper earned him the nickname Vesuvius on film sets. Dustin Hoffman, another member of their circle, revealed Hackman's self-destructive streak extended beyond professional environments. When they went out together, Hackman would suddenly announce he needed to leave. According to Hoffman, this meant Hackman required an outlet for his rage, typically by provoking bar fights. Hackman himself explained the compulsion. "There's a kind of catharsis about it. I don't want to get hit, but I don't like to take any shit." The term rivalry mischaracterizes their relationship. Both actors pursued excellence through different methods, creating parallel rather than competing trajectories. Hackman's drive stemmed from childhood wounds that never fully healed. His father abandoned the family when Gene turned 13, waving dismissively from the street. "It was a real adios," Hackman recalled, suggesting this betrayal shaped his sensitivity to human behavior and fueled his acting ambitions. Duvall's first impression of Hackman's talent came during a production of A View from the Bridge. Hackman watched the 26-year-old Duvall embody Eddie Carbone, a sullen Sicilian longshoreman decades older than himself. In the first rehearsal, Bobby already had this kind of physical thing that he was doing, like an animal, kind of glided across the stage. "I was really impressed," Hackman admitted. Their career launches followed remarkably similar timelines. Both made their screen debuts in 1959 at age 31. Both spent the late 1960s establishing themselves before breaking through in the early 1970s. Hackman earned acclaim for The French Connection, while Duvall commanded attention in The Godfather. They secured positions among New Hollywood's elite performers, alongside Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and Jack Nicholson. Nothing catastrophic fractured their friendship. The complexity lay in Hackman's personality, which Duvall understood but couldn't fully reach. Hackman's relentless perfectionism and hair-trigger temper created distance even with close friends. His troubled upbringing left psychological scars he processed through his craft. Dysfunctional families have sired a number of pretty good actors, Hackman observed about his own damaged childhood. Their sole on-screen collaboration came in The Conversation, Francis Ford Coppola's 1974 neo-noir thriller. Duvall played an uncredited role as the director, an imposing figure who hires Hackman's protagonist Harry Caul for surveillance work. Duvall made the brief appearance as a favor to Coppola, with whom he was working extensively on the Godfather films. The uncredited cameo demonstrated their professional respect, despite limited joint projects. Hackman's retirement in 2004 stemmed partly from health concerns. A stress test revealed his heart couldn't withstand the physical demands acting placed on his system. The straw that broke the camel's back was actually a stress test that I took in New York, he explained. The doctor advised me that my heart wasn't in the kind of shape that I should be putting it under any stress. He retreated to Santa Fe with his wife and dog, abandoning Hollywood without fanfare. Their separate paths never diminished mutual respect. Duvall's BBC tribute to Hackman carried genuine affection. A friend is someone who many years ago offered you his last $300 when you broke your pelvis. A friend is Gene Hackman. The statement revealed something deeper than professional courtesy. In an industry built on transactional relationships, Hackman's generosity during Duvall's injury demonstrated authentic friendship. Their deaths occurred with eerie symmetry. Hackman died on February 18, 2025, officially recorded as his date of death. Duvall followed on February 15, 2026, almost exactly 1 year later. Both men were 95 years old. The coincidence struck observers as poignant, given their parallel journeys from struggling roommates to cinematic legends. Their shared history enriched both careers without requiring frequent collaboration. They understood each other's demons and ambitions because they witnessed the struggles firsthand. Duvall saw Hackman at his most vulnerable and explosive. That intimacy informed how both approached their craft, even when working independently on opposite coasts. The torment Duvall identified in Hackman fueled performances audiences remembered decades later, transforming personal pain into art that transcended their friendship. When you spend decades in the film industry, you are bound to meet people you do not get along with, but Robert Duvall's experiences went far beyond simple disagreements. There were moments on set that turned tense, conversations that did not end well, and a few partnerships that reportedly never recovered. Fans saw the finished movies, but they never saw the drama that happened when the cameras stopped rolling. Which actors caused the biggest problems for him? Do not click away, because the last name on this list comes with a story that changed everything. Number 3. Jack Nicholson. Duvall pulled no punches when discussing Jack Nicholson's performance in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Speaking candidly about Kubrick's directing approach, Duvall declared, "To me, the great Stanley Kubrick was an actor's enemy, and I can point to movies that he has done that are the worst performances I've seen in movies. The Shining, Clockwork Orange. Terrible performances, maybe great movies. Terrible performances." His assessment cut to the core of his objection. How does he know the difference between the first take and the 70th take? He questioned, critiquing Kubrick's notorious method of demanding endless repetitions. This criticism targeted not just the director, but implicitly Nicholson's complicity in the process. Nicholson remained lucid and vocal during and after production about exactly how Kubrick directed him and the other actors, supporting the approach fully and trusting Kubrick to achieve something exceptional with it. For Duvall, this willingness to surrender artistic judgment represented everything wrong with certain acting methodologies. Their professional paths intersected most significantly through The Judge, a 2014 courtroom drama that almost featured Nicholson instead of Duvall. Director David Dobkin revealed to Collider that Nicholson entered talks to play Judge Joseph Palmer opposite Robert Downey Jr. The veteran actor, however, wanted major script changes before committing. Dobkin recounted 2 meetings with Nicholson. He wanted the script rewritten much more than we did, which was a concern, the director explained. The production team returned for a second meeting, bringing Downey Jr. along. The discussions revealed fundamental creative differences. Then we just had to realize we just felt like defending the material. We were concerned with where we would had to have gone to get Jack happy. Nicholson envisioned a different film entirely. His notes pushed towards something a little bit different, a little more isolated, a little smaller, less of the brothers, a little less of what was going on. Dobkin characterized it as a very interesting film, but acknowledged the changes would transform their project beyond recognition. The deal-breaker emerged from competing visions. Dobkin and screenwriters Bill Dubuque and Nick Schenk had spent 2 years developing their script. Walking out of Nicholson's house after the second meeting, Dobkin turned to Downey Jr. with uncertainty. "I remember walking out of his house with Robert and looking at him and saying, 'I don't know.' We had been working on that script for 2 years. I was like, 'I don't know if we can go back to writing.' He was like, 'No, we're not. Who's next?' I was like, 'It's gotta be Bobby Duvall.' He's like, 'All right.' And that's how it happened." Passing on Nicholson while standing in his driveway required conviction. You'd do almost anything to get him in a movie. By the way, he hasn't been in a movie since. Man, he's one of my all-time favorites. It was a hard call, Dobkin admitted. The timing added weight to the decision. Nicholson had effectively retired from acting after 2010's How Do You Know, making The Judge potentially his final performance. In hindsight, Dobkin stood by their choice. "I loved the movie. Robert loved the movie. We had a slot, and we were going to miss it if we did as big a rewrite as he wanted to do." The production timeline couldn't accommodate Nicholson's demands without jeopardizing the entire project. The Judge became another entry in Duvall's extensive filmography, while Nicholson's absence reinforced his retirement status. Duvall brought his characteristic intensity to Judge Palmer, earning praise for a performance that anchored the film. The role proved his continued relevance in his 80s, demonstrating the stamina and skill that separated him from contemporaries who had stepped away. For Nicholson, the decision represented a missed opportunity for one final showcase. His insistence on rewrites, whether justified artistically or not, cost him the chance to work with Downey Jr. and potentially close his career on a stronger note than How Do You Know provided. Their careers never intersected directly on screen, leaving their professional relationship defined by what didn't happen rather than what did. Duvall's criticism of The Shining and the aborted Judge collaboration became the closest they came to professional conflict. Working in Hollywood is not always as glamorous as it looks, and even the most respected actors have stories they rarely talk about. Robert Duvall is known for his professionalism, but there were times when certain co-stars pushed him further than anyone expected. Some clashes were about acting styles, others were about personality, and one situation reportedly went so far that it shocked the entire crew. Who were the actors he simply could not stand working with? Stay right here until the end, because the #1 reveal is easily the most unbelievable of them all. Number 2. Tommy Lee Jones. The narrative of animosity between Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones contradicts documented evidence. Duvall specifically requested Jones for the role of Woodrow F. Call in the 1989 miniseries Lonesome Dove. When producers initially offered the part of Gus McCrae to James Garner, Duvall negotiated a swap. "I said to my agent, if you can get him to change parts, I'll do it," he explained in 2024. Once secured in the role he wanted, producers asked who should play opposite him. His response came without hesitation: Tommy Lee Jones. This casting choice reveals Duvall's professional respect for Jones. He envisioned the project as the godfather of Westerns, and selected Jones as the actor capable of matching his intensity. The decision proved prescient. Their on-screen chemistry elevated the miniseries beyond its source material, creating what director Simon Windsor called magic. Following Duvall's death on February 15, 2026, Jones issued a statement honoring his former co-star. "Even though I have lost a friend, Bob's work will be with us indefinitely," the 79-year-old actor told Parade. The tribute emphasized friendship rather than professional distance, directly contradicting any suggestion of hatred between them. No rivalry existed between these actors. Their collaboration on Lonesome Dove demonstrated complementary rather than competing talents. The miniseries followed retired Texas Rangers Augustus Gus McCrae and Woodrow F. Call as they led a cattle drive from Texas to Montana. Duvall's portrayal of the charming, witty Gus balanced perfectly against Jones's stoic, disciplined character. The deathbed scene between their characters became one of television's most powerful moments. You have these two great actors, and we literally shot it in 2.5 hours, Windsor recalled. The production captured an intimate exchange requiring no multiple takes or extensive rehearsal. We ran through it once, and then we set up a couple of cameras. And then we had magic. You could have heard a pin drop on the set. Duvall contributed creative touches that enhanced these moments. Gus's final scene originated from his suggestion. The character appears to fade away before waking briefly for one last line. It's been quite a party. This improvisation added poignancy the script hadn't anticipated. Nothing went wrong. The factual record contains no conflicts, disputes, or tensions between Duvall and Jones during or after Lonesome Dove. Their professional relationship remained cordial across decades. Director Windsor acknowledged conflicts with Duvall during production, but noted, "I got along well with Tommy Lee and just about everybody else." The distinction separated Duvall's demanding nature from any interpersonal problems with Jones specifically. Their contrasting approaches to acting created synergy rather than friction. Windsor observed, "Duvall and Tommy Lee Jones are very different people, with very different approaches to their craft." These differences enhanced rather than hindered their work together, producing performances widely regarded as career-defining for both actors. Lonesome Dove drew more than 30 million viewers upon release and won 7 Emmy Awards from 18 nominations. The success cemented both actors' reputations, though Duvall already possessed an established film career. For many audiences, Gus McCrae remains Duvall's most recognized role. "Wherever I go, people refer to that," he noted. The cultural impact extended beyond typical viewership. "When I was made an honorary Texas Ranger, a woman came up to me. 'Mr. Duvall, we watch this once a year. I wouldn't let my daughter's fiancé marry into the family until he'd seen Lonesome Dove.'" The miniseries sparked renewed interest in prestige television that continues influencing shows like American Crime Story. Consequently, their collaboration shaped not just their individual careers, but television's evolution toward ambitious limited series. Over the years, Robert Duvall worked with some of the greatest names in film history, but not every collaboration turned into a friendship. Behind the awards and the applause, there were moments of tension that fans never heard about. A few actors rubbed him the wrong way, a few arguments went too far, and one partnership reportedly ended on very bad terms. Which performances hid the most drama behind the scenes? Keep watching closely, because as we move closer to number 1, the stories become more intense, and the final one might completely change how you see these movies. Number 1. Nicolas Cage. Their sole collaboration came in 2000's Gone in 60 Seconds, where Duvall played Otto, the grumpy mentor to Nicolas Cage's master car thief Memphis Raines. The role offered little creative challenge for an Academy Award-winning actor of Duvall's caliber. His character's primary function involved marking stolen vehicles off a list as the crew delivered them. One assessment captured the disparity bluntly. Robert Duvall and Angelina Jolie could have missed this movie altogether. Duvall is an Academy Award-winning actor who deserves better. The film surrounded Cage with talented performers, including Angelina Jolie as Sway, Chi McBride, Vinnie Jones as the Sphinx, Delroy Lindo, and Timothy Oliphant. Despite this ensemble, the the material leaned heavily toward spectacle over substance. Matrix-style CGI dominated car chase sequences, an odd choice for a genre built on practical stunts. Both Cage and Jolie sported bleached blonde hair, with Jolie's styled in dreadlocks, matching a trend that also appeared in Cage's face/off co-star John Travolta's Battlefield Earth. No documented rivalry existed between these actors. Their career paths rarely intersected beyond this single project. Cage built a reputation through high-octane action films during this period, while Duvall maintained selective standards for role acceptance. The gap in their typical project choices meant they operated in separate spheres. The factual record contains no conflicts, public disagreements, or personal tensions between Duvall and Cage. Their professional relationship remained cordial during production. The observation about Duvall deserving better reflected the critics' assessment rather than Duvall's stated opinion. Gone in 60 Seconds represented a minor footnote in Duvall's extensive filmography. The limited role neither enhanced nor damaged his reputation. Cage continued his trajectory in action cinema, while Duvall pursued more substantial dramatic work thereafter. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.